down with some very basic objectives, and when we looked at it, or essentially the problem was that those objectives are dull, to be fair. And I don't mean to knock them out at all, it's very, very popular, but they're just not very interesting. And that's not the fault of the map, it's the fault of the tool set that they have available. They have very limited tools that they can actually work with. So when we added mods into the mix, we had a huge variety of tools that we could now work with, so we could make the objectives of the game much more interesting than what they were beforehand. And as the mods have evolved over time, as the maps have evolved over time, as more people have got involved with the project, it's just got much more advanced to the point where it's now a series of maps with lots and lots of different objectives from this original concept. We have speed runs, we have maps that last 30, 40 hours for some players. It just evolves, and it's continuing to evolve. And it's a series of house rules that changes it.
And this is the sort of thing, like, people have been doing house rules in computer games, you know, since MUDs, obviously. Like, it was real easy for the guy who, you know, owned the server. It's his house, you know, he makes his own rules. In Slowpoke's case, he's the lead of Feed the Beast. Now, when you start having 50 mods that all do stuff in Minecraft, like some of them might let you generate electricity or use solar power or whatever, they're going to start kind of running into things where it's like, okay, well, this lets me magically get a bunch of this stuff, which then I can use to essentially cheat or get around other things and other mods. And so you start running into conflicts just because everything is colliding.
Yeah.
And like, ideally, you know, if I'm doing a house rule in my apartment, you know, if I'm saying, hey guys, this is how we're going to play this card game because it's more fun, you know, you want everybody to agree with it. But sometimes when you're in a situation where it's your MUD, or it's your mod pack, or your server, you have to just be, maybe you're not the good guy, but you're the guy that does good. People might not like it. And in Dungeons & Dragons or our game, Pitfalls and Penguins, it's the same thing. The game master sometimes has to just say, here's how this is going to be. Now, Guude, I know that you guys have some custom settings on your server, like fire spread and things like that. Could you talk a little bit about the process of like how you decided to turn off fire?
Well, the reason why we ended up turning off the fire, I'm not going to stand up if that's okay.
Can they hear you?
Can everybody hear me? Okay, all right, cool. The reason why we turned off fire spread is because we played with the snapshots, and basically Mojang was playing around with, they were playing with fire, and they made it where, you know, it would spread infinitely. And we were basically worried about, well, losing everything, of course, but we were also worried about server lag. If fire spreads infinitely, that could be a big problem. That's a lot of block updates and stuff. So we were worried about that, and so since we were playing with Snapshot, we had to turn off the fire, we felt, because we didn't think that we would be able to maintain the server otherwise. When the release actually came out, they had not left the fire like that. So we've actually turned the fire spread back on, and stuff burned down. Everyone blame me. But yeah, I mean that's you know we try to run a democracy. I know how you're saying, you know, a lot of times the person in charge has to make tough decisions, obviously. But well, like I did when I turned it back on and stuff burned down, and I wasn't popular that day.
But they still played at your house.
Yeah, they still play. But you know, whenever you were talking about policing the mods and stuff like that, the first thing that came to my mind was Greg Tech. For anyone's familiar with Greg Tech that plays Feed the Beast, he's that guy that everyone kind of hates. But at the same time, I think he's doing a good thing for the most part. Though I've read some of his comments in other people's code, and
could you kind of explain
mean
for people who don't know what Greg Tech is?
Okay,
what it does.
For those that are least familiar with Feed the Beast, what Greg Tech does is he kind of puts his hands in everyone's stuff and makes sure that that things are not extremely easy. But he also tries to, I think, extend the life of the game to a point where you can't just make all the solar panels you need today and make all the power you need and now you're done. I think he adds a little bit of grindiness to it, I guess is the best word I can come up with.
And some people love grind.
Right.
And some people hate it.
Well, I think as a YouTuber... Sorry?
From the crowd we had, it really depends on the circumstance of the grind. Now, some games like, old school RPGs or whatever, people love that sort of thing, but
I don't know. It's not for me in a multiplayer game. I love just being able to get stuff done with my friends, and so that's personal preference. Like if I was running a server, I would not be as likely to include mods that made the game more grindy.
Well, and that's been a big discussion we've had on Minecraft is with Greg Tech. I mean, at the end of the day, we're all trying to make entertaining video, and grinding is not something you can really record and say, all right, this is what we're doing. We're going to watch this machine and wait for it to get done. So there's a lot of people that don't really like it because of the fact that, I mean, we only have so many hours in a day to make a video, so it's not exactly a good mod for that. But at the same time, in 3 months, we still need stuff to record too, so without extending the life of the game, I feel like you know, you're gonna run out of stuff to do. I mean, granted, we've all been playing vanilla Minecraft for 2 years and we're still making videos, so maybe I'm wrong, I don't know.
Let's see here. So obviously there's other types of house rules. You know, there's tournament rules, which are much more formal, and then there's you mentioned Skyblock Challenge. There's kind of challenge rules that are kind of self-imposed for like single player games. I don't know if anybody here has ever played NetHack. Yeah. Okay, thank you. It's a text-based like dungeon, delver, I guess you'd almost say, where you go through this massive dungeon and you have to explore and fight monsters and all this stuff. And there are all these different things that players would do to make the game harder because it wasn't already 99% chance you're going to die before you get halfway through. But like, so people would say, okay, I'm not going to use any scrolls, or I'm not going to eat any meat, or whatever. And this is the sort of thing where the developer saw all these players doing this, and then they actually started tracking it in-game. They'd have essentially a checklist of things you hadn't done yet. So if you wanted to continue not doing them, you could brag that when you beat the game, you still had this list of, I managed to go through this entire dungeon without using any magic, or that sort of thing. Which also extends the life of the game. So we talked about extending the life of a game, kind of making it more civil. Can you guys think of any other big reasons that you guys make up rules for things? I
have a lot of friends that own game stores, like with they sell Magic and stuff like that. And I've spent a lot of time hanging out, in the store with them. And people will come in and they'll say, me and my family, we played this game at a friend's house, and I really liked it, and I would buy it, but we didn't like this part of it. And it's like, okay, change it. You're playing it for fun. It's not business. So make your own rules, and I think that's the bottom line when it comes to house rules is enjoy yourself. And if the game isn't exactly how you want it, you can always change it.
Yeah, as long as EA didn't make it, you're fine.
Exactly. There you go.
Thank you. I'm out.
Not going yet. Yeah. Did you have anything to add, Ken?
Well, I mean, I've had this argument quite a bit in the last year with various people where I should stand up really, shouldn't I, so that people can hear me. Yeah, when it comes to developers and the way that developers make games, or whether it's a computer game or a board game or something like that, they have a vision for that game. They want to see that game being played in a certain way. That vision doesn't always marry up with what people like you think now. And as long as it doesn't impact on people outside of your environment, then it really doesn't matter. Those rules should be what you want to do, whatever you find enjoyable. And I think that games evolve over time. When we start off, we play to the rules of the developer, the rules of the manufacturer, whatever they set down. But as we learn to play them, then games kind of get a little bit old. So you've got to evolve, make them different, make them better, so that they stay interesting. I think this is especially true in the computer gaming environment. You look at games like, I mean, a good one is like Just Cause 2. A lot of people, when they first played it, it was you stuck to the storyline, but that lasted like 3 or 4 weeks, and then you go on the YouTube now, and it's who can make the biggest crash, who can do the most obscene thing in the game, and that's what I think. They're evolving the game beyond what the developer foresees it to be. And that's I think that's a good thing because it's extending the life of the product.
Exactly, and I gotta say, like, I don't know if anybody here is interested in doing game development, like, down the line, especially some of the younger people here, but, like, one piece of advice I'd give is, like, find the most boring games in your closet, and just sit there for an afternoon and just try and think of all the ways that you could make that game actually fun. And then get your friends or your parents or whatever, be like, hey, we're gonna play this, except it won't be terrible this time, guys, I swear. You know, because that's kind of a great little exercise. Like Candyland, for example, is incredibly dull. The entire game is predetermined by, what is it? The deck is always...
You start with the youngest person and then go clockwise.
And I know you actually used to cheat at Candyland.
Oh yeah, I'd set those cards up so I'd win.
Yeah. And so, yeah. So our house rule was let me see the deck. Let me just shuffle these.
Well, like the trick to that too was like, you know, I'd play with my family. There was 5 of us. I had a younger brother. He would always go first, and I'd always have to make sure that I had the right seat relative to him to win at Candyland.
But yeah, so
I would rig the deck up elaborately. Like I'd just make it so everyone almost wins, and at the very last second I slip through and get
That sounds like a great game. Not the actual Candyland, just the setup.
Yeah, that could be an awesome iOS game, Candyland Deck Designer, where you have to make the most plausible deck without giving it away that you're cheating. But yeah, I mean, you could do something where, okay, everybody gets 3 cards to start, or, you know, just, you know, make stuff up off the top of your head and see what works and what doesn't. I wish I had designed a Candyland house rule before I went into this anecdote. So, if you guys want to break into small groups, no.
They're already broken into small groups.
Yeah, I know. 1 person from each table will be presenting. No, it's fine.
Role play for the win, like.
But yeah, I've got to say, like, one thing that I always find one thing I love is when a sign of a game that's going to last a while in terms of computer games is something that embraces these sorts of house rules and whatnot, and really has mechanisms in place for it. Like Smash Brothers, to go back to that, there's like a million different settings for, okay, do you want 4 lives or 5 lives? Do you want to stop at this many points, that many points, whatever. Then you have, like, for example, in Team Fortress Classic, you know, people would have all these servers with like 0 gravity, hook shots, and all these other things. But the server browser didn't really let you distinguish between completely insane servers and normal people servers. And that was an example of where the developer wasn't really prepared to deal with the success. You know, like, it's great for the developer that people want to push the game a little bit further and do new things with it, but they didn't really have the resources to make that sortable, so then the experience was downgraded for some people, you know. Slowpoke was saying, you know, if it's your house and you're making the rules, you know, that within your community, it's great. But like, when developers aren't ready for players to embrace things like that, unfortunately, it kind of starts bleeding out into the general population, and you know, that can make some problems. But do you guys have anything else, or are you comfortable with doing Q&A? Or
Sounds good.
I'm fine with that, though.
Are there any questions so far, sir? Yeah, you are eating. Anybody else? I will come back to you. Yes, sir.
What about house rules for board games to make them easier to play for new people?
House rules to make board games easier to play. That's actually a great point as well. You know, you play Portal, for example, and the whole game is teaching you how to play the game bit by bit by bit. You know, they ease you into each new ability or each new quirk of physics. But you start playing, just for example, not Elder Sign, but the more complicated version. Arkham Horror, yes. You try to get 6 people who have never played Arkham Horror to play an entire game of Arkham Horror.
Especially with all the expansions.
Yeah, okay. The only reason that we got through, me and my friends, the first time we played, none of us had ever played. We had no idea what we were doing. Luckily, we were in a cabin in the woods with no internet, no TV, and it was storming out. Otherwise, you know, which is also the best way to play any Lovecraft game. Yeah, so actually, yeah, that's a good point. Like with board games, you can actually kind of ease people into certain elements by just saying, okay, well, we're not going to worry about this part of the game or this nuance in this particular playthrough. Just, you know, we're all learning and that sort of thing.
And certain games that are customizable, like you're going to teach someone how to play Dominion or something like that, you could, you know, very intentionally pick cards that aren't going to do something particularly weird.
And Dominion actually, for those of you who are not, it's a deck building game. Dominion actually comes with 4 recommended kind of boards that you start off with new players, even though like normally you would just completely randomize what the board would look like.
I think in my house, board game, a good example for me is something like Risk. For me, Risk is a game, like, the amount of time played versus the fun you're having is like this graph. And then the moment you realize you can't win, so games that last 7 hours, like Risk, you don't want to be at hour 4 and realize I can't win, and you still got 3 more hours, or unless someone knocks you out. But shortening games like that, or Monopoly is another one where you want to be able to have fun, but you don't want to invest the rest of your life to play the game.
Mercy rule of some sort.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know like in baseball there's a rule where if you're ahead by something like, was it 10 or something at the 6th inning, that's just the game's over.
Really?
I don't know what that, does anyone know what the actual rule?
No, well, the actual rules, there are actual rules. If you get past the 6th inning and it starts raining, the team that's ahead will win at that point instead of playing the whole game.
Okay. And like, kind of the opposite of that, I don't know if you guys have heard of a dice game called Warriors. Instead of a deck building game where you're kind of getting your cards or whatever, it's a dice building game where there's like a big pool of dice and you buy them throughout the game, and they're all colored like candy and they're super bright, and that's why I love it. Like, I like throwing all these colors everywhere. But
You are sleep deprived.
yes. So anyway, though, the thing about Dominion is, you build your deck and you play it out. But with Warriors, we kept running into this problem where by the time my wife and I would get our actual dice bags set up kind of the way we wanted to actually play out the game, we would hit the point cap and the game would be over. And so we kind of just said, okay, well, unless you win by more than 10, when you hit the point cap, we just kind of keep moving the hurdle, so you have to win by enough points that strategy really matters. Do you want to jump in on a board game thing?
Well, I mean, Guude's already mentioned, probably the most famous board game house rule is Monopoly free parking one. You land on free parking, you collect the money from the tax man. I mean, I think everybody does that. I know I actually didn't figure out until I was maybe 20, 21 that half the rules of Monopoly I don't play. I mean, the auction, when you land on properties, you meant to auction it off. I don't know how many people actually do that. We never did that. It was just made up as you go along. If you land on it, you get the chance to buy it. If you don't, wait till somebody else comes along and lands on it and they get the chance to buy it. But I think, again, that's simple, what you were saying a bit before, simplifying it so that it's easier for people to play and the games go a little bit quicker and they are a bit more interesting than just like the first person to get Mayfair and Park Lane or whatever it is in America.
Yes, they probably have different
You guys have different names?
The purple ones with hotels, the first person to get that wins. It's just a case of sitting around waiting to see what happens. But yeah, whatever it is that makes the game interesting for people.
One of the 2 Monopoly rules that we had when I would play, there was always somebody in the group that wasn't allowed to be the banker. And it might have been because they were too slow, and it might have been because they were going to cheat like crazy. But we routed around that damage by simply saying, don't worry, I'll do it. Or, he'll do it. And then the other rule, which now that everybody has cell phones and they carry calculators around with them all the time, it's probably not as big a deal. But there's there's a tax where it's like either pay $200 or 10%, or not even 10. It was like 17% or something ludicrous. It's like I'm not going to count all my money and then figure out what 17% of it is. You just pay the flat fee.
Yeah.
That's a hungry guy.
Yeah, that was a good question though. Thank you.
You had mentioned that you did some role-playing games. I wanted to know what they were and if you'd done any house rules for any of them.
Okay, the question was, what role-playing games have we done, and did we develop any house rules for them? And so, Pitfalls and Penguins, which is the game Art and I developed, is based on open gaming licensed content. If any of you guys are familiar with open source software, this is kind of like that, but with D&D 3.5, where Wizards of the Coast said you can use certain core rules of D&D 3.5 and build anything else you want to on top of it. And so essentially what we did was we spent 5 years making house rules for D&D 3.5 to try and make it goofier, more cartoony, and more playable. Like we talked about the epic failure leprechaun wish thing, but like creating your own classes, creating. We ended up integrating like a lot of stuff from the setting of our comic and other things. I feel like I'm not answering the question well. Jump in.
Well, I mean, that was kind of the big one. Like, we don't actually play too many RPG systems, really.
Part of the problem is when you develop your own, you don't have a lot of time to do everything else. But Art and I were kind of the comedy writers, and we had two other guys who were like hardcore D&D math guys who like knew 25 different systems. So they could probably answer this question a lot better than we could.
Well, and part of the thing of why we made the game is because we wanted to make the system that we wanted to play, and so a lot of it, like with one of our friends who was really the bigger D&D junkie of all of us, I'd always talk to him and just be like, I'd like to do such and such RPGs. Just like, well, there's not really a way to do that yet, and so we kind of built our system out of necessity, or out of want, for turning the other games more into what we want to play. I have done a few other systems. I did the Firefly system, did part of a campaign in that, and a few other little things, but we haven't done anything where we tried to modify them in any significant way.
Yes, question here.
So I'm running a Pathfinder campaign right now, and we played the standard box for quite a while. And one of the ideas I wanted to create some new flavor is I wanted to do a really steampunk style game set in 1890s London.
Okay.
But I wanted to eliminate magic from the game to give it a very different feel than Dungeons and Dragons. Can you give kind of an elaboration on times where you can limit the player's potential for commonly used rules or abilities to give the game a totally different aspect and feel?
Okay, so to quickly summarize, he wants to do a Pathfinder game set in 1890s London, steampunky, and he wants there to be no magic. Now, how is that going to be, how can he do that without making it less fun for his players? Taking away magic is great as long as you have no mages in the party. Because, like, okay, no, seriously, like, if you got, okay, well, we got a guy who's, like, an archer, okay, we're going to give him a handgun. And, we've got another guy who's a swordsman. He can still carry around a sword and a handgun. And, we'll just... It's London. They didn't have...
So your solution for magic is guns?
We even have a London expert here. But... yeah, billy club instead of a cudgel or whatever. But I was going to say, the big thing is that you want to find ways, anytime you take something away from a class, like we redid all the classes from D&D 3.5, we created our own classes. We didn't use any of the existing ones.
Well, they both have paladins, but ours is very, very different.
They're called paladins, but
yeah.
Anyway, what you want to do, though, is anytime that you're taking away something, you want to make sure you give them something equally good. So, for example, if somebody is a mage and they're supposed to have all this, excellent knowledge of magic, which lets them create fire, well, maybe you give them a flamethrower. Just be like, okay, so instead of being from a long line of wizards, you're from a long line of flamethrower manufacturers. This is an extreme example. In brainstorming, there's a thing where you essentially just throw out as many bad ideas as you can in hopes of getting one or two good ones. I'm a graphic designer as part of my day job, and like they say, like 9 out of 10 things you do are going to be horrible. So just get good at making 10 things quickly. Use the one that's good, and then hide everything else. I'm just saying, you share the good. So if are there any mages in your campaign? Or?
No, well, I limited the classes.
Okay.
That's what I did. So you can't be a mage.
That's perfect.
But
sidestep that.
Well, the big thing though is you need to make sure too that the roles of mages, that what they're supposed to fulfill. There's other ways to get around it. Like mages have like knock and can unlock doors and things like that. And so you need to make sure that you either
have a guy with a key.
Well, I don't know. Have an ability to pop locks or cure poisons or whatever things the mage would normally do, or just leave those things out. Like one of our friends who worked on Pitfalls and Penguins with us made a campaign once that he put in some puzzle door that could only be opened by an elemental caster or something like that. Both of his elemental casters didn't show up that day. And for some reason, the puzzle didn't just disappear.
And we have not let him live this down. This is one of the stupidest things he's ever done.
So what happened?
They sat there for an hour looking at it.
It's terrible.
I know. This is why we have not forgiven him. Or forgotten.
One of the casters did show up and open the door.
At like the 55-minute mark.
Wow.
But yeah, so they just kind of sat there. It's just like, well, there's nothing to do here. It's just like, oh, you can do something. What? Well, maybe you can't do anything.
And how many games has he run since then?
A lot. Well, this is the thing. You know, you get better the more often you do stuff.
There's no more down from that. You can't get much worse.
You got to bottom out somewhere. So try and do it early, guys.
If you were here, you'd be telling us that we weren't telling the story completely honestly, but I think we are.
We're doing the best we can.
He's not here to defend himself. We can get away with murder.
You know, not of him, because he's not here. But yeah. Okay, did you have a question, sir?
Yeah, you talked about cheating in Candyland, and I've seen this conversation come up with a lot of the Minecraft videos about, like, you're using this feature, this feature is cheating, it breaks the game in some way. And so my question is kind of, at what point does it stop being a house rule to make the game more fun, and what point are you cheating?
Oh, at that point, the whole time I was cheating. Like, I mean, you know, at the point where I'm hiding the fact that I'm cheating by making it look like everyone else is going to win until I sneak in.
Yeah, I would say that, like, anytime the rule of the game is shuffle the cards and you are stacking the deck, that's cheating.
Well, your example was Minecraft, right?
So, yeah. Well, I was going to repeat the question, actually.
Sorry.
So for the back of the room, he asked essentially, where is the line between house rules and cheating? When are you exploiting and when are you just cheating? Sorry.
Well, what I was going to say is, I think the problem there is that it's open to interpretation because there aren't any rules. So who made the rules for Minecraft? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it's hard to, basically you're asking to define cheating, where in his example of Candyland, it's a clear definition, but in Minecraft, it's open to interpretation. Everyone that plays the game is making their own rules. My opinion is once you're in creative mode, now you're cheating. I mean, yeah, but I mean that's if you're not like Seth Bling. He plays in creative mode all the time. He's not cheating. So I think it's up to the person to define what is fun for them. Now, in my situation on the Minecraft server, we have to have rules, of course, so that we're all on the same field. Like if one of us was playing in creative all the time, then everyone else on the server would feel like crap. It's like, well, look at this guy's builds. I'm still not certain that Nebris doesn't actually play. But yeah, that's all.
Yeah. Yeah. We have this conversation a lot because of, I don't know how many people here are actually familiar with Minecraft modding, and especially Feed the Beast. There is a particular mod called Equivalent Exchange. And essentially Equivalent Exchange gets you to the point very quickly where you are almost in creative mode because you have infinite resources. And the question becomes are you cheating then? And personally, I don't think that you are. I think what you're doing is changing the parameters of the game, where you're shifting your end goal, what it is you're trying to achieve. So with Minecraft, there's no goals, there's no winning. You can't win at Minecraft. There's no end to it.
You can have fun. That's what.
Yeah, you can have fun. You're changing the nature of the fun. I mean, so there's an artificial ending in Minecraft that they put in, the end, and the end dragon and stuff like that, but it's a voluntary thing. It's not something you have to do. You can choose to do it or not to do it. And there is this nature within Minecraft of gathering resources. And I'm sure this comes with every game, not just Minecraft, whatever. Any of these what we call sandbox environments are not really games. They are a tool set. They give you the tools to create, and it's how you then create from that. And I think what we're talking about with certain mods and where you're talking about moving from exploiting to house rules is, don't think about it like that. Think about it as changing the parameters of what you're trying to do, what you're trying to achieve. Moving from gathering resources all day, sitting in a mine shaft with a pickaxe, you know, left click, or knocking on wood, gathering resources, to actually having the resources gathered for you and then using those resources to be expressive, to create on a much larger scale than you otherwise would have been able to do, because you just have the access to much more resources to work with. And I think that's a really good way to look at it, just changing what it is you're looking to do in the game.
I think Art actually hit on the answer to your question with his secretly moving the cards around. Now, if it's your house, you can make any house rules you want, but you should probably let people know what the rules are. So if you install a mod that lets you do all sorts of crazy stuff on your server, you should let everyone know that they have the option of using that. You know, at the point where you're doing something without telling the group, that's I think where the line is. Question in the back. Yes, sir.
How do you feel about when like game production companies take kind of house rules and try and monetize them? Like Wizards of the Coast did with a popular like house rules magic multiplayer format called Dragon Highlander. They took that and they made it a product. They made it a sub-genre, if you want to call it Commander, made sets of it and are now marketing it. But that was really a player-made format. Like, people came up with that in their house using their product. How do you feel about when the actual manufacturer tries to monetize what you're trying to do at your house to change the game to make it more fun for you?
Did they pay the people who came up with the thing, or did they just kind of go with it?
I think it was kind of like a widespread. There was no like one person developed the EDH rules. It was like a multiplayer across, you know, the entire board. People were catching on forums and stuff and spreading this.
Well, I think it happens a lot. You know, just going back to Monopoly, the whole free parking thing. If you buy a new game of Monopoly, that's actually in the rules now. As hey, this is an optional thing for you and your family to do for fun. So I think what Wizards did when they saw how much fun people were having with Commander, they just wanted to make sure everybody knew about it. You know, I used to play Magic for years, and I stopped, but I still have friends that play Magic. And I had not heard about whatever it was called before it was called Commander, but I did hear about it when it was Commander. And I think the other good thing about that is there's all this product that they've printed throughout the years that isn't in the current standard set. So Commander gave a use for all their product that they had sitting around that wasn't in the rotation. So I don't think they really ripped anyone off by doing that, or you know, ruined the game, or was just a money grab. I think they were just being smart.
I don't know the exact circumstances. Like, if there was one person that came up with it and like sent it to them and said, "Hey, would you make this?" and they said no, and then they made it anyway without paying that person, that would be a lot different. But yeah, I don't know the exact circumstance. I've never been ripped off like that because my ideas aren't that good. 1 in 10 will be. But yes, a question from the back. We haven't had a lot of those. Yes, you.
Alright. How do you guys feel about games that are intentionally designed so that you don't know the rules? For example, I have one example, and it's like the only thing I know of. There's a card game called Map that I played my freshman year of college. That is basically crazy eight for the most part. And other than that, the only rule is that you're not allowed to ever tell anybody the rules.
You already violated it.
I know, but I'm not planning to play it anytime soon. So anyway, the basic thing is, yeah, I'll take 2 cards. The basic thing is like the dealer will make a rule, and then you play, and that rule will be anything crazy. Like anytime somebody plays a club, you have to itch your ear. Like that's an actual example.
Itch like
and
scratch? Is that a regionalism? I don't know. We say scratch in Tennessee, but
okay. And you know, it'll go around and people will just keep making rules, and every time you violate a rule, you basically go further towards losing the game.
Mm-hmm.
So I just wanted to get your opinion on what games that are intentionally designed.
That sounds a lot to me like essentially Calvin Ball, or to a lesser degree Stickball. Like I've never played a game that had no rules from scratch, but like as long as everybody's on the same page when you get started and you say we're going to make this up as you go or as we go, I'm cool with that. I don't know.
I mean, that's really, yeah.
It sounds interesting. It sounds really profitable too. The rule is now when you play a card, you have to give me $5.
The rule is you better get to the ATM now.
Sounds like the type of thing that's going to get you really, really drunk as well.
That's true.
Sounds like everybody's losing.
Okay, so question from the young man in the back there.
Well, Guude, I know you manage, among other things, 2 very high maintenance servers populated by toddlers. So, and because of that, I know you've said in your videos that sometimes it takes enjoyment away from the game when you have to manage all of that admin duties, whatever it may be. And so my question to all of you is, how can you do these house rules and manage these people and enforce these rules and all of that while still having fun with the game you play?
You can't.
I haven't worked it out yet. I don't have an answer for you yet. You know, it was easy with vanilla Minecraft because you start it up and it's there, it runs. It's really not a problem until one of the toddlers accidentally shows the IP in one of his videos, and then someone DDoSes it. But you know what's funny about it is I've never shown the IP, and I've been on the server the longest. But anyways,
See, you could make a house rule: if you show the IP, pay $50 fine. Or you
that
can take it
sounds
off
like
the
a
server.
great idea.
I mean, everybody makes videos on your server. They,
right.
They have advertising revenue they should sacrifice.
Can we copyright that rule?
As long as, if EA steals that from you, magic, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if it's something that's so high maintenance that you are no longer able to play the game because you're too busy maintaining it. I don't know the fix for that yet. When I figure it out, I'll let you know. You'll notice because I'll start uploading Feed the Beast videos and Minecraft videos again because I'll have time to actually play the game.
Well, I actually have an idea for like an insane server in Minecraft, but I just don't have the time to actually make it. But I'll share this with you guys because it's an interesting example of like a house rule thing. The idea is that there's no one admin on the server. All of my friends that I play on the Hermitcraft server with would have admin privileges, and the server would be called Man Pantheon. Anybody who wants to can come play on the server and do whatever they want, but all of us are gods. And essentially, whatever the admins do is it just happened. Like if they wanted to go crazy and do all sorts of, even if I'm the one running the server, that's not my problem. I'm just one of these several gods, and I don't feel like fighting right now. I'm tired. So essentially, what you want to do is, one of the reasons I came up with that idea for that server, though, is because I kept trying to figure out how could I have a server for the fans where everything isn't my problem. And by essentially saying up front, you're living in a world where the gods are insane and numerous, and they're your problem. Don't play if you don't want to. I kind of get to sidestep that. So essentially having a strong enough incentive to play by having the game be fun, but also by being able to say, go home if you don't like it, it's my ball, like that keeps me from going crazy. And so that's kind of my thoughts on that. Sorry, Art, you haven't really jumped in on this one.
I don't play Minecraft.
Oh. Well, Slowpoke just said you can't. So, next question. Yes, you in the back there.
I'm a Minecraft map maker myself.
Hi, Vex. No, that's not Vex. Don't bother.
Wait, not Betches?
No. Sorry, your question.
My question is, since I've seen you playing those maps specifically, how do we feel about rules that specifically make the game more difficult on everyone?
Well, rules that make the game more difficult on everyone are generally rules that extend the game.
What if everyone loses? How do you deal with that?
Well, okay. What if that's a good question. I like that question. What if everyone loses? What do you do? Well, in Pitfalls and Penguins, we had kind of ran into this thing where when a good dungeon master is running their D&D game, if the whole party wipes, the D&D will, or the dungeon master will usually do something instead of saying, okay, you're all dead. You can either pretend to be in a cemetery now, or you can roll new characters. What they'll usually say is, okay, well, you guys were all knocked out and kidnapped, and you wake up in a jail cell or something like that. And so we actually codified that in Pitfalls and Penguins because we know the guys who run our games are going to be like 13 to 15 a lot of times. This is the first game they've ever run. So just having a rule up front, okay, the players can't die, if everybody in the party is knocked out, then you need to do one of these several humorous scenarios. And one rule that we even had is our rogue equivalent class has a skill called improved surrender, where if everybody in the party except for him is knocked out, then when he wakes up, he has 1 or 2 concealed weapons still on him.
No, he doesn't get knocked out.
Oh yeah, he doesn't get knocked out.
He avoids getting knocked out, and he gets to carry 1 item with him.
Yeah, and so then when everybody else wakes up at the jail cell, he's like, okay, yeah, they let us through here. So he already can describe the layout, and he's already got 1 of his weapons. And so yeah, that's one way that you can deal with everyone dying. I don't know if in Minecraft everyone can die.
No, I think what came to mind, I don't know if it's really the question, but I think with Minecraft always being in development, I think sometimes people worry that it's going to change in a way that will ruin the experience they've had so far. So I don't know if that was part of the question, but that's what came to my mind when he was talking about it. And when things like that happen, if it's a big company like EA, they don't care, they got your money already. But I think with a game like Minecraft, Mojang listens to their community, and if they ever did change something to the point that it ruined lots of people's experience, I don't think it would stay. But then, of course, there's the snapshots too that allows them, like Firespread. Firespread's a good example of that. They were going to change it, they realized it was too drastic, and it never went live. So I don't know if that answered the question at all.
Well, actually, you make a great point. Like, for example, if you look at SimCity 5, SimCity 5, to a lot of people, just killed SimCity. But there's nothing stopping them from going back and playing SimCity 4 or SimCity Classic or whatnot. And so there's actually now a huge resurgence of like people playing the old SimCity games just because they're so disappointed by the new one.
The bitterness is stopping me.
Yeah.
I'm bitter, man.
Well, I'm sweet, so we go to
Can I just check? The original question you're talking about, is it okay to make a game where everybody dies?
Pretty much.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely fine to do that, as long as the people who die have fun doing so.
Arkham Horror does this.
I think that's the main thing. I mean, in Minecraft, there's Vexes, who we were talking about a minute ago. He creates maps designed to kill you. That's what he does. And he's probably the most popular Minecraft map maker there is. And I think this goes to D&D and every game. It doesn't matter what you're trying to do, as long as it's fun. That's the main thing, I think.
Good point. Any questions from people who haven't asked anything?
That guy in the green shirt.
Oh, yes.
He's been gung-ho.
Sorry.
This is something about like Minecraft that wouldn't really be an issue in a tabletop. But say like there's an item that a lot of people like, but then it comes out that like it's creating a lot of server lag. And what would you do if everybody really liked the item, but it was creating such tremendous lag that it needed to go? Would you still get rid of it, or how would you solve that issue?
Well, if you can't play the game because
it's one of maybe one of those things like it's not like block lag issues that a lot of people were having, and you finally figured out that it was because of the iron golems or whatever. But maybe if you find out that it was an item that everybody uses and everybody really likes that was causing the block lag.
right.
What would you do in that instance?
I think in that instance you have to, because if it's preventing people from playing the game as it's meant to be played, you have to get rid of it. Even though everyone loved it, like let's say portal guns were causing tons of problems in the game. If that was the case, even though everyone's got it, everyone loves it, we can't play now. So you have to just accept it. All right, it's gone. Sorry.
Would it be one of those things that you would just get rid of it, or would you talk it out with everybody else first, just to make sure that they know the consequences?
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously, I would tell it. Like me personally, obviously, I would tell everyone before we remove the mod.
But my question would be more of like, it's one of those things like, would you still keep it even if everybody if everybody wanted it, but it was causing all the issues? Would you keep it, or would you get rid of it?
Well, the thing is, you got to keep in mind, in Guude server is for professional and semi-professional gamers. Every single player on there makes revenue from making videos of the game. And so if a game is not playable, it's not recordable, and all of a sudden they have less roof than they used to last week. And so I think there's a pretty hard, whatever makes the game playable and recordable would be the answer.
Yeah, exactly.
Next question, anybody?
You had a question earlier.
Yeah, you had a question.
I had a comment on the, when you're talking about taking a game to like a modification for it and monetizing it in the game. Well, I mean, Minecraft has done that with pistons and the ender chests. Those were proven to originate from mods.
Right. They gave credit, didn't they?
Yes, I believe they did.
I can actually, right. With regards to that, because this is something that we have to deal with, Mojang make it very, very clear. You cannot own ideas in Minecraft. When it comes to mods, they very specifically tell you that you can own textures, the image, you can own the code, but you can't own the idea. And they make it very clear that any idea that they want to take, they can take it, and that's part of the agreement you make when you're modding that particular game. So.
And I can't speak internationally, but I know at least in the United States, you cannot legally own rules. Like, for example, the rules of Monopoly, like the concepts of those rules, the logic of those rules, cannot be owned by Parker Brothers. Parker Brothers can own the graphical representation of the board layout, the shapes of the pieces or whatnot, but the actual core ideas of the game are not ownable by anyone.
Really?
Yeah.
Can you patent them or something?
No, you can't. That's what I'm saying. They're
So, could anyone these Star Wars Monopoly games? I mean, I know they're made by.
Yeah, those are made by Parker Brothers.
But technically, anyone could have made it.
Yeah, if you want,
you have to make a completely different looking board, though.
Right. Well, it already is a completely different looking board.
It's the same square shape. Yeah.
That's not 100% true. Crazy Taxi, for example, was patented by Sega, and the Simpsons knockoff game, Simpsons Road Rage, that came out, was sued and lost on that patent. There's a lot of scoring systems that are patented. In the software world, that game rule is completely broken as it is into the physical game board.
Gotcha. Okay, because I mostly am familiar with the rules for RPGs and tabletop stuff because that's where I haven't developed any video games. So I apologize.
It's completely different. Old people don't get software. So.
Old people don't get software. Yeah, old people like me.
Yeah. No. I meant like congressmen.
Oh,
congressmen, not me.
Yeah,
not you guys.
Once you have a 10-year-old, it's just a rule, I guess.
Great. So, are there any last call for questions? Yes.
I got one on it. So for everyone, sorry that you don't play Minecraft, but what's your favorite Minecraft mod?
No. Right just before we do this, he's a mod developer.
See, that's like asking, what's your favorite color of the wind? They're all part of the tapestry of life. Embrace life.
You don't understand.
Good answer.
Whether or not that mod gets finished for 1.5 might be dependent on Flo's answers.
I'm actually quite open about this. My favourite mod is logistics pipes. It always has been. So.
It's not even in the Feed the Beast.
Only because it's not there.
You don't have to deal with it, so it's your favorite.
To be fair, actually this is kind of like a Feed the Beast thing. There is a version of logistics pipes out there, but it's not made by the original mod author, which is the reason why we don't include it. So, if anybody, but the original mod author is working on a new version, which we hope to include soon. So, okay.
Ish.
But,
Ish.
Yeah, ish. I mean, yeah.
My favorite mod is Computer Craft, but you didn't make that, so I'm sorry.
Actually, that's a...
Joe, what's your favorite?
Oh, I really... I like the one that has the monitors where I can put my name and my Twitter handle in big letters, so anybody walking past can... Yeah, is that Computer Craft? Okay. So that's the thing is, if you just play Feed the Beast and you don't, do all the behind-the-scenes stuff, it just looks like... The whole point of making a mod pack is that all these things fit seamlessly together. Yeah, so I don't know where one starts and one ends. I'm just like...
It's supposed to.
This man is perfect in every respect.
What have you been smoking?
Just whatever they give us.
Should I pay you now?
Yeah, that American money's no good when you get back there. They want to take that, Yeah, okay. We might have time for maybe one more question if anybody's got one. Yes, sir.
I was curious, regarding tabletop games, what sort of groups do you go to for play testing and seeing, is this game making fun? And maybe do you know any resources that would be useful, especially internationally?
The question was for tabletop games, where do you go to play test and how do you play test it? And
cons are kind of a good place. I mean, they've got tabletop testing things going on right now in that area.
Well, and the other thing is there's whole tabletop areas at conventions like this where you can just sit down at any table, say, hey, I've got a game,
You know, here's some books, here's some rules or whatever. Like, bring a big sign that says, come play with me, I made a game. Like, the best place to start, it's honestly a lot like, you know, doing investment fundraising. Like, start with friends and family. And just be like, hey, you know, I know you like this. I bought beer. Come sit here with me and try this out with me. Like, we extensively play tested Pitfalls and Penguins with some people who knew all about D&D and some people who had no clue what they were doing. And we realized that people who have no clue what they're doing would help us expose flaws in our system more quickly, because people who know D&D would kind of see like, oh, okay, this is kind of broken, I'll just work around it. Or, well, except for things that like positively benefit them. Things that benefit them, they're just like, oh, I'll exploit the hell out of that. But yeah, so you want to do as many sessions as possible with as many people as possible. Also, just doing games online. Guude was a party member in one online game we did, where I essentially made the map in Adobe Illustrator, and I would just reveal layers of the map as they progressed through it. And I think I did Skype screen sharing, and just had everybody talking via Skype, and you know, everybody was on the honor system with their dice and whatnot. But like, if you already have a following with other things that you do, like we had already, Art and I had been doing comics for years, and then I got into YouTube. And so it's been a little bit easier for us because we have an existing audience.
Yeah, we didn't have to just, I don't know how you do it otherwise. I guess you could try to forums or...
Like you said, they're just at cons, you know, you show up and you just say, hey, come play this.
I think cons are probably, like, I've been friends with you for a while, but I didn't know about Pitfalls and Penguins other than I'd seen your videos, but I didn't realize, I didn't completely grasp that you were developing it, you had a Kickstarter for it until PlayOnCon last year, and once I got to see it, then I backed your Kickstarter.
Yeah.
So if you had not been at that convention with your game, then I never would have saw it. And talking about playing the game, whenever we did it online, I still think it would be great to build your role-playing adventure in Minecraft and then do it over Skype like we did. You could even have one of these mod makers make a dice in-game so that you could easily roll the dice for each part of the game. And I think it would be more visual. And you could even record it, people watch it.
Yeah, what I need to do is I need to pay a map maker to actually make the map, because I don't have time. That's the only reason I didn't do that, because in Illustrator I could just throw circles down.
That's a really good idea.
But,
thanks.
We could do that.
Yeah, we could.
I think it would be great.
I was going to say, another thing though with regards to, like, you know, when you're at the con and you're trying to show people this, there was one guy who was at PlayOnCon, which is down in Birmingham, who I was talking to him like about Pitfalls and Penguins, just like, oh yeah, we got this idea and that idea and whatever. He's like, oh, that's cool, you know, I've been playing D&D for like 20 years, that all sounds great, whatever. I was like, okay, we get to the table, and I'm like, here, you want to take a look through a book? It's not completely done, we're still finishing one or two of the chapters, but this is, you know, the prototype book. And he's like, flips through, he's like, holy shit, this is nearly done! Like, oh, I thought you were just a guy with an idea, but no, like, this is actually good! And he's just like, stands there reading it for 20 minutes, and then he like, goes on his YouTube channel and he asked me to come on and like, do an interview with him and like, tell thousands of people like, why my thing is awesome. You know, all because I not only showed up, but I showed up prepared.
Well, you know, with, you know, how many internet scams there are, you know, being able to show this is a physical product, we actually made it. It exists.
We're 90% done. You don't have to be finished, but you want to have something.
Yeah, but you know, but even the prototype was a very nice looking book. It was, it wasn't bound great, but you know, it had a nice looking cover, had, you know, InDesign set out pages that looked good.
Yeah, hire, two things if you're going to make your own role-playing game. Set aside money to hire a real illustrator. Like seriously, just spend several $100s on the cover and on the flyers or whatever when you're trying to promote the game. And two, if you do a Kickstarter, set aside $900 to $1,200 for proofreading. Because proofreading a role-playing game book is insanely expensive. It's a lot of text. And proofreaders charge kind of by the word. And like, I didn't realize, yeah, when we did our Kickstarter, we were like, oh yeah, we'll just proofread it ourselves. But, you know, when you read, like, I had been doing the book layout for like a year and a half, and so there were just mistakes where I had looked at that page 800 times. That was just what that page looked like.
Right.
You know, and so that's kind of unrelated to this, you know, topic directly, but
yeah, I think you can't find your own mistakes. You'll be convinced you can, but you can't.
We're actually hitting time, so any final words, Slowpoke?
And I think I'm good. I mean, I think it's been a good session. I've enjoyed it.
Well, we think you're good too. Guude, anything?
Turtles? I don't know. Yeah, this is fun. Thanks.
If anybody's interested, right after this, we're doing the Feed Beast tournament.
Yeah, that'll be down in the
That'll
PC
be down
area.
in the PC area.
Art, anything?
I don't have anything. I may follow them along there, so if you guys want to keep talking about this or something tangentially related, we'll all be there, I guess.
Yeah.
Yep. Alrighty.
Thank you guys.
Thank you guys for coming out. Enjoy PAX.
Oh no, all my things are going away.